Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we will cover Grand Champion Molly B. So get your popcorn popped, grab a beer, kick back, and enjoy the video. Molly B is one of the best combat dogs in history. Her exceptional gameness and intelligence was always on display. She was born in the early 70s, one in a litter of 7 coal-black puppies in the yard of James Edwards. She has played an important role in the development of our breed. Having an all-black litter was no accident because Molly B was Linebred Henley's big boy, a big solid black dog that was a cousin to Zebo. Mr. Edwards founded a strain of bulldogs on the big boy dog that was characterized by intelligence, ability, and a very hard, destructive bite. Big Boy was a very unique animal, very special animal. He was exceptionally athletic and moved with the grace of large jungle cats. He had an unusual ability to find the weakness in the dog's combat pattern, and could very quickly destroy a dog, any dog. The unfortunate thing about Big Boy was he would not scratch into a dog, and he was fought country style with no scratching. In other words, put the two dogs down together and the better dog survives. Big Boy was fought for 5 years and was undefeated in countless matches, although I know one individual that says he sent Big Boy out wrestled when he was young by another big black dog. Whether or not that is true, I don't know or care. Usually when you have a dog of Big Boy's caliber, he didn't get many fights because everybody had a zillion reasons why they can't match into them. But since Big Boy was exceptionally large dog, for those days, and big dogs usually don't have the gameness, and since Big Boy wouldn't scratch, he was tried by many dogmen who figured they could beat him with good unstoppable game to the core bulldog with high ability. A dog that would hold him out long enough that he would quit, if those dogs were not picked up. However, Big Boy would usually kill them, and in those days it was pretty rare for a dog to kill another match dog. The winner of almost all matches was won on gameness of the dog and the degree of the conditioning the dog had. Mr. Edwards set out to recreate another Big Boy. Well, as might be expected, a lot of curs were produced. Dogs that would quit even when they would outclass their opponent. They would bite down their opponent and then stand over them or walk away. Even worse, some would jump the pit even though they were winning. This statement might make some people sad, but sorry to say I have seen with Big Boy bred dogs many times, and his cousin Zebo bred dogs too. But these digs were not from Mr. Edwards' yard. What I don't think a lot of people realize about this strain of bulldog, Big Boy, Zebo, Homer, Molly B, etc., requires more personal human attention than many other lines. They must be hand-raised. This bloodline usually doesn't give a hoot about other dogs. They do not socialize well with other dogs, but they make humans the center of their life. They are often very shy of their environment and need the extra socialization an owner can provide. All quality bred pit bulls are very affectionate with people, but not many as are bonding with people as the Zebo, Big Boy type dog. Today we saw and have much of the Molly B dogs for that strain's reputation for producing high performers that quit. But in the hands of what I consider, my personal viewpoint, a quality true dog man, this strain produces high performers with enough gameness. In other words, there are curs in every litter, but on the right yard a Zebo, Big Boy, Molly B bred litter will have as many game dogs or nearly the same as the bloodlines noted for gameness. Look at Ozzie Stevens, Greenwood's, Champion Homer, the dog that fought Jeep for almost 4 hours. He fought uphill because Jeep ruined his shoulder early on in the match, and it was a fast-paced match, no lying around. Homer scratched from I don't know where, but somewhere from the depths of his heart. Trying to go across pushing with his rear legs, his front legs were dysfunctional. He is bred basically the same as Zebo and Molly B. He had more gameness than most of the dogs bred towards the quality of gameness, and he was not an isolated incident either. Zebo himself showed a high degree of gameness in the classic match with Greaser for that matter. So that is my position on that. Anyway, Mr. Edwards wanted to recreate Big Boy. The fact that he accomplished that, and more, with Molly B, who was an 8-time winner, is no accident. She was genetically planned. A lot of people don't know Mr. Edwards bred foxhounds for many years before he got into breeding pit bulls. He knew a lot from hands-on experience about breeding. All consistent quality and performance animals comes from line breeding and inbreeding. Probably the highest performing animal in the world is the dog who competed in the square in the fight game. It is my understanding that the American Pit Bull Terrier is the most completely inbred of all animals. How good was Molly B? Did she in fact replicate the talented destroyer of dreams, Henley's Big Boy? Well, it was relatively unusual for females to make champion, never mind 8 wins. Since most of her matches were unreported, the 8 times of course is disputed by the usual wagging of tongues, but I have checked with those present with those who were there, and I have satisfied myself, since she figures heavily in my breeding program. Of the 8 wins, all the dogs matched hatched into Molly B were quality dogs. But good or poor dog, it didn't matter because Molly B could very quickly kill them with apparent ease if they were not picked up very soon. All of her matches and rolls were very short, many of them only 3 or 4 minutes. She was so good that in all of her career, and it was a long one, she was never scratched on, not once. The hardest match she had was her first one, a dog from Doc Whitley that was 2-time winner and had taken out both her opponents early. The match lasted 13 minutes. Her longest match, however, went for 19 minutes. In that match, her opponent cut a bleeder on Molly B in the very beginning of the match, and that slowed her down a bit. It ends it for M/NY dogs, but Molly B stopped the dog in 19 minutes. One guy said he traveled from someplace, I think it was Texas, to see the fabulous Molly B. He traveled all night and half the day and ended up in the boonies someplace. He said after the dogs were washed and weighed, as they brought Molly to pitside, he turned and walked to the back of the crowd to get a sandwich or something. He got his sandwich and fixings, turned around and went back, and the match was over. See, Molly B was much more than a hard bite. She had the uncanny ability to immediately adjust to any dog's style, find the weakness or opening, and go in and wreck the dog. It's like in one dog, she literally wrecked her opponent's stifles to where the dog actually could not get up. So the people that matched into her next thought they would put a very game but hard-biting nose and head dog on her. This dog was pretty talented and designed to beat the hard-biting destroyer dogs, especially a stifle dog. In other words, it was specifically chosen to beat Molly B. But when she tried her thing on Molly B, well, in less than 2 minutes Molly broke her jaw. I mean, really. In other words, Molly gave her right back what she was trying to do. She wrecked the dog's mouth. I am told that Mr. Hargrove said she was the best pit dog, male or female, he had ever saw, and no question he's seen a lot. But before she was sold and entered in the competitive world, she was a pet at James Edwards' home. She was special right from the start. She was the first pup out of the whelping box and showed to be very intelligent from the beginning. She was very athletic and had an ideal conformation. She and her brother Hoss Eli rode around town in the back of Mr. Edwards' truck. Both dogs would play with the family cat and even eat with the cat. She went on to become one of the top performers in pit history. Her brother Hoss was never campaigned, so many people do not realize that he was in fact as good or better than his sister Molly. To get very high caliber dogs out of one litter like that means there is more than potluck here, it's quality genes. Homer was one of 3 in a litter who all displayed deep gameness. Lots of truths there. Mr. Edwards was the breeder. His brother was more of the dog man. Mr. Edwards did a lot of experimentation with double sires of the same litter. He sold a lot of dogs to a lot of people. The number of people who said, I got my first dog from Mr. Edwards, is huge. He sold enough dogs back then for Wilson Electric to call and ask him to cash his checks for the last few months so they could balance the books. He believed in low prices. A $150 dog that was just sold is worth way more than a $500 dog still in the brood pen. A businessman's thought process, I suppose. I recently met an older fellow who was doing dogs back then. He saw Molly B go 3 times. In the match mentioned above, there was a special mouth fighting bitch that was hand-picked to beat Molly B. The dogs were washed and brought to the pit. Mr. Edwards was trying to make his way to the pit when he heard release your dogs. When he got within steps of the wall, there was a snap. Mr. Edwards said it sounded like a .22 rifle shot. When he leaned over the wall, it was over. The hand-picked bitch went into Molly B's mouth and had the top of her muzzle snapped in halfway between the eyes and the nose. Broken in half. Mr. Edwards said that was the only one he missed. G told the same story as he was sitting pit side when it happened. My first dogs were bred down out of Molly B and Snooty to Pool Hall Red. Meeting Mr. Edwards was a real pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation as much as anything. A lot of these dogs would destroy one and then walk away. I had one heavy down on the Molly B that a few of TH Yield timers said I had the recreation of Molly B. Nothing stayed with her more than 15 minutes. She was a murderer. She never scratched the first time. Not ever. Come across if you wanted to, but it was a bad thing when you did. Stay on your side and all is well. If country style was an option, she would have been on top of the world. Ask her to scratch and it would be easier to save the time and mail the check. The results to me point out the immense value of the gene search. When you look at a 3-generation pedigree of Molly B, even though no single dog past 3 generations have much influence, the high degree of inbreeding that influences our breed means that foundation blood can be a lot more important in planning breedings that one might realize. It is obvious that Molly B's mother is double-bred Big Boy. But I found there is more Big Boy than meets the eye. Big Boy's mother Greg's lady appears 2 more times in the next 2 generations. Once in the form of Cook's Toby, who is Bullwinkle's brother, Bullwinkle, who is Big Boy's half-brother and was a popular catchweight dog in the Carolinas and is in Panther's Pedigree. And secondly in the form of Cook's Black Lady, who was Big Boy's sister. Even more magnificent, to me, is the fact that Molly B is almost 50% Colby/Cotton's bullet blood. The bottom side of Molly B's father is pure Colby. Big Boy's mother Greg's Lady is half Colby. The bottom side of Molly B's mother is pure Colby/Cotton's bullet, except for that part of Big Boy that isn't. By Colby, I mean the same Colby's Texas, Colby's Tweety, Dime, Penny, Rifle, Margie, etc., that produced Red Boy and Finley's Beau, who was Jeep's father. These dogs come to us from Howard Teal, Joe Medlin, and Lopazzi, all North Carolina Southern bred game dogs. Also through Hetrick, Pete Sparks, Bass, and many others. This same foundation blood has blended in to produce more of our famous dogs than many realize. In Molly B's pedigree, for example, the following Colby dogs appear with the number of times in the pedigree in parentheses: Brandy, 531, Buddy, 139, Buffy, 194, Dime, 39, Flub Dub, 347, Merle, 195, Penny, 37, Pupsy, 337, Rifle, 86, Tweety, 38. That is not all the Colby dogs, but it gives us an idea. The exciting thing to me is, since Velvet's father Morochito has Big Boy and Bullwinkle in his blood, if you were to compare Velvet's foundation onto Molly B, it was almost identical. The only difference is the Eli blood in Molly B versus Leitner blood in Velvet. Of what value is this to the reader? I am sharing my personal experiences to point out the value of a thorough gene search in planning our breeding, and to me, that if you have a Zebo, Big Boy, Molly B, or Ozzie Stevens Homer or Virgil blood, for example, it blends great with Jeep and Red Boy blood. Conversely, if you have Jeep or Red Boy, it goes great with these black hard-biting Lonzo's Andy dogs, Zebo, etc. You don't hear much these days about Molly B, so I thought an article about her career and her bloodline is deserving. She was truly a fabulous dog. This concludes the story of Grand Champion Molly B. Make sure you subscribe and press the bell icon to receive all future uploads from the channel. Like, share, and comment. Thanks for watching.